Okay, so the group today is, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Ardea. It's a youth leadership course, really. 40-hour, they have a 40-hour camp, and then they also have events throughout the year. It runs out of the Nature Center. The Nature Center is actually the coordinator. I don't know if they are the originator of this. And so today they're going to be telling us, the youth hopefully will be telling us, well, what they've been learning in this leadership course and what kind of projects they're actually working on. So whoever is the start talker, take it away.
Maybe you all could introduce yourself first. Say who you are and what school you go to and how long you've been with Ardea. But it might be cool to hear from one of you an overview of our program here at the Nature Center. And yeah, the Nature Center, I helped with several community members, and also Jenny Dozema, I helped co-create this program and have been leading it for the last 3 years. So I'm Amber, by the way. And I work here at the Kalamazoo Nature Center. So whoever wants to start, go for it.
We actually have a little presentation. Is there a way, like, do I just share my screen?
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let me figure this out. Can we like do whys while I figure this out?
I believe that Maya, there just should be a button at the bottom of your screen that says share screen. And I believe you could just click it and it gives you the option that you may need. And it will allow you to choose which display you'd like to go with, I think. Are you seeing that, or is it different on your end?
There's a green square on the bottom of your.
Yep, there we go.
Good.
And then you probably can hit slideshow, so it shows up as a slideshow view or presentation view, maybe. Yeah, perfect.
There we go.
So are we going to do this first, or do we want to do the whys first?
Do whatever you want first.
We can just do our whys when we're introducing our names, because those are on the slides, right?
Yeah, they are. So we are Ardea Youth Climate Coalition, and the coalition came out of the climate leaders education program that Amber talked about. This is a little overview of us. So it began in early 2020, like Amber said, with several community members. And they saw a need in the community for informing young folks about climate change. And we all know that climate change is going to affect our generation the most. So there's a big need there for making sure that our generation knows what's up and what to do about it. And, you know, it's always important to make sure that high schoolers are educated about these kinds of things, especially as they embark on becoming the next leaders of our nations. And the goal of this program specifically is to give teens the tools to advocate for a resilient future and share accurate information with their peers. So we're all about educating ourselves so that we can educate our peers and do some great work in the community. So these are, the next few slides are just us. So first we have Anna. Take it away, Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna Edison. I'm a senior at Loy Norris. This is my first year in Ardea. I heard about it through my friend Zakaya and our other member Yassine. And I'd always really been passionate about climate change, and I hadn't heard of a lot of programs that were really allowing youth a platform to speak on it and just direct ways to help out and be involved. And so I heard about this amazing program, and I was really excited to have the opportunity to take action. And that was really it. That was all I needed to join. Yeah. Olivia.
Okay. Hi, I'm Olivia Shanker and I'm a junior at Kalamazoo Central. And there was a lot of reasons that I joined Ardea, and it was mostly to be surrounded by a community of other youth members that thought about climate change the same way I did and like we were all able to be educated on it together. And I think that's a really important part about what like what's the word I'm looking for? What action is within a community is being surrounded by people that just care as much as you do, so you can push your ideas and what you know farther.
And then that's another senior from Lenorix, Renaya Fance. We've got Owen Quayle, who's a senior at Lenorix, and Daniel Sullivan is also a senior at KC.
And I'm Elliot Spoelstra, and I'm a junior at Kalamazoo Central. And this is my third year in Ardea, so I helped found it that starting year, like right during the thick of COVID. And I think I really thought about it because I wanted to do something about climate change, but I didn't know what to do. And this, it gives me a way to channel my emotions towards this topic and really feel like I'm doing something about it and feel like I'm helping, which is good for a lot of things. And throughout the past 3 years, we've been doing stuff as much as we can, and I love it, and I love all the people in it, and yeah.
Okay, I'm Zakaya. I'm a senior at Lenorix. I joined Ardea last year, and I think my main focus was like the intersectionality part of climate justice. I'm from the Edison neighborhood, so it's a neighborhood that's very disproportionately affected in Kalamazoo. So I was really interested in bringing that awareness to my community, which is why we started one of the projects that we started. And yeah, so that was something that I was really passionate about.
And then we've got Yassine Lowe, is also a senior at Lenorix and joined the same time as Zakaya.
And I'm Maya Bresnaw. I'm a junior at Matawan, and this is my first year with Ardea. And I mean, I joined for pretty similar reasons as everyone else. Like, this is something, like the work that we do is something I'm really passionate about. So it was really great for me to have an opportunity to be able to learn more about this topic with other peers. So even before I joined Ardea, climate activism is something that I would regularly involve myself in, but it was always really hard just like working by myself, because I always none of my friends are really into this kind of stuff. So it always felt like I was the only one that was really caring about this. So it's really nice to be able to work with a group of other students in the area that also care. Really good sense of, what's that word, like solidarity, I guess, with this group. So yeah. So what have we been doing? We have actually done a lot of things this year. Zakaya, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah. So like I said, I live in the Edison neighborhood, and my mom is a 5th grade teacher at Edison Elementary School. And so since this is an area that's really impacted, and a lot of the kids haven't even learned about environmental science yet, we're really interested in teaching them early on about climate change and how it affects them, but really breaking it down to the simple terms that they can understand how it impacts them in their life. And it was really great because we got all these kids excited to learn, not even something just educational, but something that they can move on and hopefully fight for when they're older, and really get them into how much the things around them affect them without forcing climate anxiety down their throat, but more so just telling them how all that works. And that was super cool, I think.
I'll take this one, I guess. So in November, we all got the chance to speak at the City Commission meeting for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's Urban Bird Treaty. So the Urban Bird Treaty, it's an agreement that cities can choose to be a part of, and it provides like extra protections for like green spaces, and I think there's some like developing type regulations in it just to protect both native bird species and migratory bird species. And I mean, across the world right now, birds in general, like species overall, have been declining. So protecting the birds we have is very important. And I think 4 of us, myself, Olivia, Elliot, and Renaya, who isn't here, we all got a chance to speak and they adopted it. So that was cool.
I can take this one. So for World Food Day this year, which was in October, which is just our day recognizing food in general, but also food scarcity and issues of hunger, we wanted to really work on ways that we can connect and impact and take action in our communities and with the most marginalized populations of our communities, specifically those who are houseless in Kalamazoo. We went downtown and on the south side. So as we know, climate change is really not a one size fits all problem. People are all going to be impacted at different levels and in different ways. And for those who are without housing and are marginalized in other ways by race and income, are going to be hit hardest, and they're going to be hit more consistently, and they're not going to have resources that others will have to combat this. So one thing we wanted to do was to provide a sustainably made recipe. I believe it was vegetarian, maybe vegan. Vegan. It was a chickpea tikka masala that we made ourselves, packaged up with compostable packaging, and we went out into the city and handed it out to other people, just to recognize in general the issues of having culturally appropriate food and food scarcity in the community, as well as trying to serve people we know will be most affected by the climate crisis.
Okay, so something that we do a lot as a youth climate coalition, specifically in Kalamazoo, is tabling events. And so we haven't had the opportunity to do that many this year, but in past years we definitely did. And so we have a spinner with a series of different questions about the climate crisis and how you relate to nature and to climate change as a whole. And so the whole idea behind tabling as a youth climate coalition is making not only our youth voices heard, but also making our peers and people around us feel more comfortable with just starting the conversation on climate change. And kind of a core value of Ardea is peer education. So that's something that we are able to do with our tabling events. Okay, I can also talk about this one. So we recently, as in like last weekend, got the Peace Jam Youth in Action Award. And so what that is Peace Jam, Great Lakes Peace Jam gave us an award as the entire coalition for what we have done this year. And so it's for youth change-making groups that were chosen from the greater Kalamazoo area. And groups were selected because they engage in influential acts of peace during the 2023 school year. And so we got this really awesome award for what we have been working on this year. And we hope to continue the work that we did throughout this year to get us that award and then continue it on for years to come.
So one of our favorite things and one of my favorite things that we do sometimes at tablings, did we do it at the event?
Mm-hmm.
We did it at the event, or the award event ceremony, is En-ROADS. I sure and a lot of you guys know what En-ROADS is, or even have heard me talk about it, but it's like an interactive climate simulator, and it is one of the best tools to get people talking, especially the youth. And as we've said, like that is one of our main goals. And I think it's a really cool thing to use like anywhere, and it can really start conversations. It can really get people thinking about solutions and really get people talking to each other. And yeah, it's a great tool.
Do we have time to do like a little run through of that?
You have about 30 to 40 minutes, so if you think you do, that we can do that, sure.
Can you guys still see the En-ROADS?
Yes, you can. Can I just know, like, how many people have used this before? Anyone?
I don't know how many people you can see in this mode, but
We see.
So most of you guys,
you.
but for those of you that haven't, I'll just give you a simple layout of it. Up in the top right of that blue line graph is the path of warming we're on right now, which 3.6 degrees, pretty scary, pretty shocking. So that just big, bold, right out of the gate, 3.6 degrees of warming. And when preventing that, when talking about that, like, that's one of the first things I like to talk about. That is like a shocking number. And then you can talk about some of the effects of what 3.6 degrees of warming will have on our world. And they are drastic changes, and they will displace people. They will hurt people. They will kill animals. They will destroy cities. And that alone can get people talking. But once you start experimenting with a lot of the solutions and a lot of the things you can change, and that is what really gets the conversation going. And the few times I've presented this in classrooms, it's like got kids shooting their hands up and like yelling and arguing over what solutions to do next. And like, it's really awesome to see, and really great to like really know people are thinking about climate change, because a lot of us know about it, but not a lot of us like think and talk about it daily. And this is one of the things that can get us going. So if anyone wants to try moving some of the sliders, like changing our energy sources, I know a lot of you guys have used it already, but
You can just shout it out. And Maya will change it for us.
Would you also be willing to share some of the things that you've heard that peers have cared about or thought about? I'm just interested to hear what you get a lot of. Are there any themes, or what are people thinking about or caring about?
Yeah. The first thing everyone goes for is afforestation, because that's the big companies, they want you to think, oh yeah, plant more trees, let's do it. And Maya, if you could move that up. So let's say we have an insanely high amount of afforestation, like almost unbelievable. Like everyone's planting trees. We have just lowered the warming by 0.1 degrees.
Yeah.
And that is shocking to a lot of people, because they think the grass is going to go all the way down. We're going to be at like 2 degrees, but it's not. And that is just, it's staggering to a lot of people.
And then, so another really big issue with the idea behind afforestation and deforestation comes from these large corporations pushing your carbon footprint onto you. And so they're like, oh, if you plant trees, we're going to save the world. But that's not really realistic at all. And another thing that people tend to reach for is electrification of transportation and buildings. And so if Maya is going to move it up, so it only lowers us somewhere between 0.2 and 0.3 to fully electrify every single vehicle and every transportation method on Earth is only lowering us that much. But a lot of different large corporations and governments are pushing the electrification onto people and even giving incentives. But in reality, that's not what's really going to drop that number for us, and not what's going to help us. And so a lot of what we can do comes from the energy supply that we're using. And so if Maya would raise the carbon price, carbon price is carbon tax, theoretically, to medium, you get that immediate drop, with a lower even price or tax on it. And so that's what really is going to make that difference for us. And so it's also like the use of renewables. And if we did come up with a new carbon zero, we could really, like, realistically, that's what it's going to help us lower that temperature by year 2100. And the goal, I think, is 2.5 degrees Celsius. It was lower before, but it's no longer attainable for us.
Yeah. So a lot of that is like, once you get past the point where kids are like, oh yeah, afforestation, oh yeah, let's electrify cars. And you start like talking about, we need a lot of solutions and a lot of things need to happen. We can't just have electric cars. We have to have electric cars that get their energy from renewable resources. We have to have new infrastructure and buildings that are using these renewable resources. And that's when we start to see like actual major change in this warming pattern. And then maybe some like afforestation too, maybe like just like drops in use of oil and like even a tiny carbon tax, like, but it just shows we need a lot of different things and a lot of different solutions. And that is one of the other big points of En-ROADS that I like to make. But
Yeah, it's not just one thing. Everyone buying an electric car and using an electric car is not going to save the planet. And I think that a lot of people, specifically in the Kalamazoo public school system and the Kalamazoo area, don't tend to realize that because we're kind of caught up in this bubble of, oh, like if everyone drives an electric car, if we plant more trees, that's going to save us. But it's also about, that's the whole idea of Ardea is peer education. And so for us to have this education, we're able to give it to others with presentations like En-ROADS and talking about what we can really do, what's attainable for us.
Can you tell us where you present this, to whom, and how you decide that, and how far have you gone?
Well, I myself have done it in a couple different classrooms of just teachers who have been willing to let me have like half an hour to an hour of time. And we usually go over the amount of time they want me to have. So that's a great thing. But we've also, some students from last year did a couple presentations at Portage Northern and Portage Central, just the classrooms. And sometimes at our tabling events, we'll have En-ROADS set up, and that could be a discussion starter, and we can show that to some people.
Mm-hmm. We also did it in the CTE, which is a career technical class called Conservation Biology. We did it for both the AM and PM classes there. And I've also done it for a couple of classes within my school, and I've done it within my Jewish community. And it's just a really great conversation starter for a lot of different people.
We also presented for a local nonprofit called the COA Fund, who supported us, to their youth council and to the founders. That was pretty recent, just a few weeks ago.
Have you gotten any pushback when you present this?
I don't think I have. I don't think anyone really has. Probably a lot of it is because most of the time we're at like a climate change related event, so a lot of people are aware and want to do something about it when we're presenting it. But even in the classrooms I've been in, I haven't really seen anyone. Which seems like a pretty big pattern to me, is this younger generation cares a lot about climate change. No one's really denying it anymore. No one's really like fighting people. No one's thinking about it. So we need people to think about it. So that's really our goal, is getting people to think about and talk about climate change.
I think one of the biggest things that we've had to like navigate though is because stuff like afforestation, deforestation is something that we think is so important, and then we have to like change it and actually show that it actually doesn't have that much of an impact. Like that dooms mindset of like, oh, we're never gonna get a new carbon replacement of energy and all that stuff. I think that's something that we've been trying to like control when we do the presentations. It's just not for it to be so negative, and instead come up with solutions of how we can get these things to happen and not be an unreachable goal.
Yeah.
Could I just interrupt your presentation for a minute to confirm that you guys have been invited to have a table at the celebration at Asylum Lake Preserve, which is a week from tomorrow on May 20th. And Maya and I have been in touch, although we haven't gotten on the phone at the same time yet. So maybe this is a time to let people know that hopefully you will be there. We have a table available for you. And I assume that if I keep communicating with Mia, you're the only one I have contact information for so far. I assume that if I keep
in contact with you. You and your colleagues will be there with bells on, hopefully. Yes, no, maybe.
I think I can probably be there. It is Casey's prom, so I know a couple of us will be tangled up with that. But
We will not be doing it while the prom's going on. It's from 12 to 4 in the afternoon that
Okay.
Saturday. I mean, I'm serious. We very much want to feature you at this event. So if somehow at this moment, while I have you in the room, we could make some connections. There, I think, will be a great number of people who are there, and they will be encouraged about your work.
Lori, I think this should be taken offline. Mia, now, you and Mia can get
I would
together.
be happy to take it offline if I know where I should take it.
I don't, is Maya still on the phone, on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I'm not sure if it should be going through you, Maya, or if it should be going through Amber.
I think either. I'm not
Well,
really
what
sure.
date, what's the date of this tabling event?
May 20th.
May
May
20th. Okay, it's a Saturday. We've got it on our radar. We'll make it happen.
Well-
Was there more to your presentation, or can I ask you all to talk about other commission meetings you've been to? I know that Maya and maybe someone else went to the asylum when the Asylum Lake stuff was coming up, and talk a little bit more about that. I just wasn't sure if you had more slides or more things to talk about after En-ROADS, but we'd love to hear from you all more about the commission meetings you've been going to regularly.
Yeah, we just had En-ROADS, that was the end. So I went to the Planning Commission meeting a couple weeks ago for the zoning code update, and that was something I did as part of another climate group that I've helped found. It's called National Youth for the Climate Emergency, or NICE. And basically, for those of you who maybe aren't aware of what's going on, so through the Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 plan, the zoning code is being updated to, I guess, better align like the city's policies and practices with the new themes that they have in Imagine Kalamazoo. And a lot of the things they're doing are, one, very contradictory to the things that they said were important in the Imagine Kalamazoo 2025 document, and two, will be harmful to our natural environment. So one thing they're doing is they're trying to change some of the language in a natural features protection overlay to be able to support development on areas of land that are near natural features instead of solely protecting the natural features. So that causes a lot of issues, not only with the safety and integrity of our natural areas, but also just with our ability as the environmental side of Kalamazoo, I guess, to be able to fight changes in the future. There's other things that are changing that are a part of the natural features protection overlay, like there's some language changes. Well, I guess they're just taking out sections regarding lot coverage requirements and wellhead protections. So wellhead protections, that's just putting our water sources in jeopardy, and changing lot coverage requirements has the potential to destroy some green spaces and contribute to urban runoff, which we all know is a big problem. And the last thing that they're trying to do is remove car washes from the list of businesses that need a special use permit within the community commercial zoning district, which is basically just like where all of our businesses are. And that just doesn't make sense due to the nature of car washes and how many different pollutants are just waiting to be washed off into Asylum Lake, for example. So yeah, that's what's going on with that. So I was able to take a couple of my NICE members to the Planning Commission meeting, and we gave some public comments regarding that. And it was the first of many, so there will be more opportunities, and we will definitely be doing that again.
Okay, so I've also
Go for it, Olivia. Keep going.
I've also been to a couple of different city commissioner meetings. I didn't recently get to go to this one about the asylum lake protection, but I did go to a couple other meetings about that. But I got to work with Jenny, who I think you all know, and speak at another commissioner meeting about getting the, like, I think it's climate something role into the Kalamazoo County building and getting that set in place. And then I also got to speak at the urban bird treating and a couple other things. But I feel like speaking at city commissioner meetings, especially as youth in the area, gives us a lot of power. And I feel like it gives us another push to keep our like ideals and what we want to happen go.
Cool. Thank you all so much. That was really great to hear from all of you. Clap, hands clap. So yeah.
Okay.
Now we want to hear from folks what kind of questions you may have for our youth while they're here.
And any questions for these young people? Steve? Your hands up.
So many questions. First, kudos to all of you for doing stuff that's really hard for a lot of people to do. Very impressed. Noticed, other than Maya, you're all from KPS. How do you recruit people to your group? What size group are you? Is ideal? Things like that.
Yeah. So currently the program is able to house 10 students, and we keep continuing students. So if you started with Ardea in 9th grade, you could go all the way to 12th grade. So they're included in that 10. So like this year we have 3 returning students, and so we'll need 7 new applicants. So that's where the program is currently. And we have wanted to keep it within Kalamazoo, the city of Kalamazoo, or the Kalamazoo County school districts. But Maya was, I connected with Maya through Steve, so I let her join our group outside of Kalamazoo County. So, but really, I think we kept it within Kalamazoo County in the beginning, just to try to keep it contained within our own community a little bit. So that's why we decided that, but I don't know if that's going to be a hard, fast rule necessarily, but that's what we present while our applications are open. Our applications are open on the Kalamazoo Nature Center website, on our Youth Climate Leaders page. Currently until I think May 20th is the deadline for that. So please let people know if you know some youth, if you have some youth in your life that may be interested in this. So we have had in the past students from Portage schools, and of course KPS. I'm trying to Gull Lake, I think we've had Gull Lake. So that's how we kind of recruit, just by doing a few advertisements, word of mouth. These students, they all talk to people in their schools, and so they're really our biggest recruitment is these students who are already in this program. So
but how do you outreach to the schools that are not currently involved?
So we have our first year and our second year, I didn't do it this year, but we sent out letters to every single school, principals and administration, or any teachers, mostly science teachers who may be connected. We sent out a letter that explained the program and explained what we were looking for. So the past couple of years, all schools in the county districts have been sent those outreach letters. I did not send them all again this year though, but they have been all informed in the past. That's how we originally started that. So, but there's definitely room for growth within our outreach, but we also have only being able to take 10 students right now at the level of which our program can handle, puts a lid on doing too much outreach and getting too much flooded in. I would love and hope that our program can expand with more public funding, and so we can hire more educators like me to support the program, because at some point my capacity won't be able to handle more students unless I have some support. So that's kind of where we're at, but we definitely have a lot of interest, and we hope to expand someday for sure.
Okay. Tom, your hands are up next.
Okay, I have a question and then, well, two questions. First one is to the group. Are you going to continue actively during summer, or does the school year sort of put a pause on things?
Could you repeat part of that? You kind of glitched out a little bit. I think you were asking, are we do most of our stuff in the school year and not in summer?
Yeah, I'm thinking what I'm getting at is we have some tabling events that I think we would be willing to share some of our space with you, particularly the lunchtime live at Bronson Park, which we have once a month. So if you're active during the summer, I'd invite you to join us and bring the youth voice to those events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we do is we have our training week in the year where our new applicants come in and learn about all this stuff. And that's technically when they're in the program. So during summer before that, which is that week is in August, we only have the members who aren't graduated, because most of the seniors are off doing their things for college and getting ready to go off, start a new chapter of their lives. But so we would only technically have 3 people, but if
you'd be willing to invite us.
If you maybe put your number in the chat or somehow reached out to me, I could get maybe the 3 of us could show up and do a couple lunchtime live events. We would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I'll give you the dates. And, we will have some people at the events. They're providing tables, and I think your little spinner thing sounded like a great idea to engage people. So I will put my number and the dates into the chat for you. Thank you.
We're having a spring event at the end of this month on the 27th.
Yeah.
Where we're doing a bunch of like youth stuff. We're doing thrifting. We're having a youth band. We're having a short film.
Yeah, that'll be the end of our school year event.
And we're gonna try and make it we're gonna try to do it like an annual thing. I'm pretty sure. Hopefully, possibly. And we wanted to have tabling be a part of that. So if you guys want a table at the event, we'd be down for that as well. That's something that we're doing. It's from 3 to 8, I believe, on the 27th.
Are you all able to share your flyer somehow?
We can also put contact information just in the chat right now.
Okay.
We can
So if you
also
are
just,
interested.
you can send the information to Kazoo Crisis and that'll go to Tim and he can disseminate it. That way also he can let our members know about your event. Okay. Is that okay, Tim?
Yes, I was just going to put the email in the chat.
Okay.
So
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that'll work. Thanks.
Okay, Susan, you're next up. You're on mute or something. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I just changed over the microphone. Does that help?
Not really.
Let me, I may have to restart. Come back to me.
Okay, we'll take Jeff next then.
Great job, Ardea. It's on my radar now, if possible, to find you some more funding to expand your program. I think we should all be thinking about that with our connections out in the community. If we can boost Ardea through the Nature Center, I think that would be a really nice connection. And as young people probably looking for college opportunities, I'm curious, those of you who are looking now, are you looking for sustainable schools or environmental schools, or are you looking for programs within them? Are you looking at like environmental science, climate change studies, environmental engineering? Any of you, is that ringing a bell for any of you who might be looking at college right now?
Yeah, so I'm a junior in high school, so I've really been this year thinking about what I want to go and continue on in my education. And so something that I've always been really interested in that I think Ardea helped to spike a lot is conservation and environmental engineering. And so with looking at that, it took like a lot of time for me to kind of realize like, oh, this is really what I'm passionate about. And the education that I've gotten to get with Ardea about climate change specifically really helped to push me farther in my like journey for what I really wanted to do. And so I think that like a sustainable school or a school that like definitely acknowledges climate change and like helps to facilitate students working to fight climate change is something that's really important to me. And yeah.
Yeah, I have also been doing a lot of college shopping, I guess. I haven't really decided what I want to do yet. I know it's going to be something environmental science, environmental studies related. I do have the end goal of being a professor, so that's kind of where I'm headed right now. And for me, I mean, my top two schools right now are probably either Western or U of M. So I know that those schools, yeah, I know that Western especially has really good sustainability stuff built into that. So it's not something I'm really exclusively looking for right now, just because I know that they already exist at the places I'm looking.
Can I make a follow-up question?
Yes.
Does that bump me to the end of the line for my real question?
Well, there's only Susan is the only person in front of you, so you can have your follow-up question.
So I'm curious, if you're say you're looking at environmental engineering program and there, you're looking at 3 schools, how important would it be for any program? Let's say you want to go to med school. How important in choosing the schools that you're looking at is it that they take a stand on sustainability and climate issues when making a decision?
So for me personally, I think that it's not the top priority of mine, but I know that specifically in Michigan, because of like, I will be staying in Michigan for college because of the Kalamazoo Promise. And so I know specifically in Michigan that the University of Michigan and places like Michigan Tech and Western Michigan all have like sustainability as like part of what their college is as a whole. And so I think it's not like an ultimate deciding like decision for me. but it would definitely like add on to like, oh, this is a really good reason that I would want to go here and want to spend my next 4 years learning here.
Yeah, and I would add to that. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Zakaya.
I plan on going to med school, and I'm going to Wayne State, so I want to be in Detroit because I really wanted to be in an urban area, and because I think of my passion for marginalized areas, being in a city like Detroit that, like in Michigan, has like some of the worst effects of climate change. It was something that was really important to me, and also just because of how much climate and environmentalism like intersects with things like public health is something that I was super interested in. So I think from that perspective, just like knowing how, like being in an area that like where people in the area need to be informed and need the help was something that was important for me when I picked the program. So it was kind of less about, I guess, the school itself, but even just about the work I want to do during that 4 years in whatever school.
Yeah, I guess to add on to both of those things, so I was looking at University of Montana, but tuition is crazy for out of state. So, but for that decision, I don't really know what kind of sustainability things that university has, but I do know that they have good environmental education programs and majors at the school, and the student body there is typically very passionate about that type of thing. So even if when I was there wasn't those types of programs like Western has already present, it would be something that I would be, of course, willing to work on and to, kind of build that with the student body, fellow students, just because, this kind of stuff is what I like to do. So, yeah.
This is just a public message that we're at 7 minutes and we have 3 questions still coming. So I believe we can stay up longer if we want to, but it is approaching the 1 o'clock hour. And so I wanted to give notice of that. Susan, you were next.
Yes, and I think I fixed my mic. You can hear me now, right? Okay, good. Yeah, just 2 quick questions. First, whether you're connected or at least have some knowledge of some of the national youth efforts on climate change, like the Sunrise Movement. And second, I'm really curious about climate change education in the schools in this area. And is there any kind of standardization? What would you recommend for improving that and how? Thank you.
So for one of my classes this year, I'm actually in the conservation biology class that's through the Nature Center. We do these things called independent projects, and mine was about climate education specifically within this Kalamazoo public school system. And so I did do an attempt to email the Kalamazoo Public School Board, and nothing really came of it. I tried and I gave statistics and reasons why climate change is such an important thing for us to learn about as youth, and specifically in the Kalamazoo public school area, and why it's going to affect us. And it was basically a dismissal of my ideas and why I thought it was important, which is really saddening. But we did something like interviews. And so we found out specifically within both Kalamazoo Central and Loy Norix, kind of the miseducation around climate change that's in our schools. And it was really scary and hard to understand and realize why it was happening and what we can do, because there was an attempt to make a difference, but without an email back or without communication on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with those interviews, we did get really shockingly low responses of people who understood just some of the basic aspects of climate change, as well as terms like climate justice. We talked to leaders of environmental clubs at our schools who had never heard of the words climate justice before. Really just concerning response about even youth that are the leaders or have some amount of platform. don't have the information that they really should have. But in general, in a public school curriculum, we're not really hearing about climate change outside of maybe an environmental class, or like Olivia was saying, she's specifically taking a CTE for it. But in our normal curriculums, it's really not talked about much at all. I've taken like a regular environmental science class and it's been mentioned, but nowhere near to the extent that the information should be accessible.
And I think back to like the Edison lessons that we've been doing, especially in populations where like literacy rates are already like definitely like marginalized. It's very different than like if you were to go to Winchell or even Millwood. Even that, it's like they're already not where they need to be in like just basic sciences. So like a lot of teachers don't have time to teach environmental science and teach all the things that we do. So I think that was a big thing, is that we also have to be considerate of the resources that people have and the access they have to things, and also make sure that we're not doing everything so standardized, because not everyone can learn the same thing the same way.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So Elliot and I recently got a chance to actually speak about this topic on a panel at Western. I think Steve was there for that one, but we got to speak with Dr. Alan Webb on climate education. And specifically for that speech, I did some polling of the member base that I have for NICE, National Youth Climate Emergency, and we have members from all over the country. And the results of that were not as I hoped. So a lot of people, within NICE and within groups like this, we already have like kind of a basic knowledge and a basic care about the issue. So we're aware of it in that sense, but even in those classes that aim to teach about things like this, climate change and all of the different complexities within that, including climate justice, especially climate justice, is something that is not touched on. So at my school, Matawan, last year I took AP Environmental Science, and we had one unit on climate change that consisted of 3 lessons that we got through in about 2 days. And the only things we talked about is that greenhouse gases exist, the climate is warming, and urban runoff is a problem. And that's all that we talked about concerning climate change and all of the issues that go into it in my AP Environmental Science class. And it wasn't even on the exam. So if it's not even in like what's considered a higher level class, then I feel like that really shows the need for more education across the board.
Okay.
Also, one of the biggest things that we talked to with the co-op was the fact that if it's easy to go to marginalized areas and talk about climate change to them, but we also have to be considerate of the fact that even though that we're activists fighting for climate change and we have climate anxiety, these people have a lot of other anxieties that some of us may not experience, whether it's like racial injustice, economic injustice, all that stuff. And I think it's easy for environmentalists, which often comes from people who are high of privilege in our way, middle to high class income, can just really push for sustainability and push for all these things, when a lot of other people have a lot of other things going on that they might not necessarily have the time to focus as much as we can. So I think acknowledging that and making sure that we teach in a way that's inclusive is something that we try to do.
Okay, so Steve, Toby, you had your hand up and you lowered it. Is okay. So Steve, do you have a last question?
Well, yeah, I understand the restrictions, the constraints of a group like this being limited to 10 people to make it, make it doable. But I'm also aware that at least in some of the area high schools, there are environmental clubs that operate independently. And I wonder if Ardea interacts or interfaces with any of those groups to try and, build coalition, a countywide, larger kind of a movement of high school students concerned about these environmental issues?
I think we've definitely tried to reach out to our school organizations. I think the biggest thing is that I think we have different goals than them, and I think that could be a clash. I think a lot of our environmental clubs at our school are a lot of not even just conservation focused, but a lot of focus on like quick solutions like recycling and like planting wildflowers. Whereas like I think Ardea at least
Generally speaking,
is
focused
focused on like intersectionality
and policy.
and that's like one of the biggest things. So I think we definitely try to make as many connections as we can, but I think in general it's kind of been hard just because I think we have different goals of what we want to do.
Yeah, like I said, even with speaking, we did interview people at Lenox and Kalamazoo Central for when we were doing an interview series, and some of the lack of information or just a different understanding of the issue was definitely prominent. Of like, there was leaders that didn't have much knowledge or speak at all about the intersectionality issues, and that they run recycling programs and they take care of our courtyards. We have small courtyards at Lenox, and that's really their aim of the club. I know they've done some other work, but in general, there's not a huge overlap. And there's just that restraint of feeling like there's a bit of a differing perception of what's going on, that we haven't built a super strong relationship with them. Hopefully with years to come, I think even with events, if we continue to do events like this spring event, volunteer opportunities and other ways to build that relationship could definitely surface and come about from that. And hopefully there can be some learning on both ends from that. But yeah, as of right now, it's not been a super close relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my experience at Madawan too. And I think a lot of it still has to do with that whole lack of education piece. So like Zakiya was mentioning, with Ardea, we tend to work more on the intersectionality and like those bigger issues. And all of our school environmental clubs, I think what I know of every single school environmental club I've ever heard of from several different states is recycling. And they all recycle, and that's like the thing that they do to save the planet. And I'm sure all of you are aware that there's some issues with that line of thought. And I think it also goes back into this whole idea of, I hate to get all like super big and everything, but this online activism thing, like our generation cares, but we think online petitions are the key to everything. And the sad truth is that activism takes a little bit more work than that. So if it's not something that they can do immediately and feel like they accomplish something right away, it's not something that they really want to get involved in. And with Ardea, we do a lot more of like big picture work that takes some time to see results. So yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't stop after high school.
But I had a follow-up question. You developed a curriculum for the Edison 5th grade. Do you think that curriculum can be implemented in other schools also? And are you working with KPS to bring that to the other schools?
Yeah, it's something that I'm definitely interested in. I think, like Olivia was saying, getting that on like a district level is something that's going to be kind of hard to do. And I think right now we were just trying to like plant the seed at Edison and then like spread upon that. But I really hope that next year with the group that we have, with whoever makes up our day, and with Maya and Olivia and Elliot, that they're able to spread that across the district. Because even if we have to literally go to every teacher and ask, hey, can you have this lesson? That's something that we can do. It would just be harder than us, the district, actually just doing what they need to do, just implementing it. Because I can give them the resources. We have many lessons that we've done, but it's just that we just need to take the work to do it. I mean, it would be something that I think would be really beneficial.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is a lot of the resources we used were free and were very easily available. You can look and find short videos that are explaining different topics. We really began with like a scientific aspect of just like what fossil fuels are and what is global warming and how is the climate changing and why is it changing, what's causing it, and stuff like that. We did a couple like experiments to show what carbon dioxide is and things like that, just because they're 10 and 11 years old and all of them have those basic understandings. But especially getting into middle school where that has been in the curriculum, there just needs to be an expansion. They have to push further. And with a program that is run by a bunch of high schoolers very, very intermittently is definitely not the best we can do as a district, but that is what we were able to do this year.
Yeah, I was just thinking you've developed it, you've done it once, and maybe that can be a basis.
Yeah.
If we can do it in all the schools in 5th grade, at least have one day a lesson,
That's
Definitely, yeah.
that's something I'm hoping to work on next year. So next year I'll be a senior. So I'm trying to get an independent study. And one of the ideas I've been playing with is actually taking that time to expand on the curriculum that I know Zakaya has put a lot of time and effort into, and hopefully getting more lessons, especially for kids at Madawan, because we don't have any education on that whatsoever. So hopefully more on that to come next year.
Okay, great.
I also additionally wanted to add really quick that the way I've been thinking about the Youth Climate Leaders Program and also Ardea as kind of two separate things, so that I can expand the program of Youth Climate Leaders at the Kalamazoo Nature Center, but Ardea Youth Climate Coalition can become their own movement if it needs to be. So it's there for them to start working towards that. It's the Youth Climate Leaders program is a 40-hour training, and then you get stipend paid for being a part of this. So you become this leader, but then they can create the movement through their Ardea. That's their ownership to claim that. So we'll keep trying to work at that and invite in and see how that kind of expands and works out. So the potential for that is there already. We're just, it's still a baby program. We're still trying to figure some things out, but I think that's why we set it up that way.
All the comments have been very positive in the chat. We are well over time. It's almost 10 minutes past 1. So unless there's a real burning question that anybody wants to ask, I would like to really thank the group, the students for coming, for Amber, for you running this program. It sounds like a very productive program. And I hope that you do continue in the climate field somehow. So,
yeah, thank you all. And please don't hesitate to reach out. I did put my email in the chat, and I also put the link to our Youth Climate Leaders page so you can learn more or know how to check in with us. So thank you all. And thanks to all of our leaders. Really proud of you all.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.